Hello and good day, my fellow travelers and backpackerinos. Welcome to another exciting episode of On the Road at the Speed of Mike. In this episode, we're going to head into North Carolina. First stopping in Raleigh, and then on to Dupont National Forest and Chimney Rock. I stopped at the Neuse River Trail, a greenway, bike, and walkway just inside the city's eastern fringe. There's nothing that makes this place a must-see. It's just a pleasant stop to get a sense of the local nature and environment before continuing on. Raleigh is North Carolina's state capital. On its capitol grounds sits the Capitol building and a statue of the three presidents born in North Carolina: Polk, Andrew Johnson, and, most famous of all, Andrew Jackson. Along with some other famous persons from the state, most of the statues are veterans memorials. And being that we're still in the South, 3 of these are yet again from the Civil War. City didn't strike me as particularly interesting. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just seemed to have kind of a generic feel to it. I hear it's a good party town with its nearby colleges, but otherwise, as a tourist, it was just kind of a stop. More interesting in my mind is North Carolina's Appalachian West. This part of the state is home to some pretty cool spots like Asheville and the bit more state, but what I wanted to see most, more than anything, was Chimney Rock and the surrounding mountains. Is a state park and small town taking its name from the large granite outcropping that provides an excellent, unobstructed view of the surrounding mountains all year round. Driving from the quaint riverside town and picturesque lakes takes you up winding switchbacks until you reach the park entrance. $17 for peak season, it's kind of pricey. It's cheaper in the winter, but the top bluffs are closed because of snow and ice. So you really can't appreciate everything it has to offer in the off-season, and if you came to see the shooting locations for a particular classic movie, you'll want to go in peak season for sure. That being said, the main spire is still open all year round, as are most of the stairways that take you to the park's many geological anomalies, like balancing rocks, tunnels, and caves. There's also a decent waterfall a short hike away called Hickory Nut Falls. I only say decent because the waterfalls in neighboring Dupont State Forest absolutely blow it away. away from Chimney Rock, but at a lower elevation, this was the first place I really felt like I had encountered spring on this trip. Dupont has several great waterfalls, so we'll just start smallest to largest on 3 of them that are relatively a short walking distance between each other. Hooker Falls, Triple Falls, and High Falls are all sort of on the same loop trail, or trails that mirror their names. Hooker Falls is the smallest, it's just kind of wide and short, and it has kind of a nice little area where you can lay out, and it's not too obtrusive with the misting that comes off of waterfalls, which is kind of more of an issue on the other ones. Second is Triple Falls. This is, as its name says, 3 consecutive falls kind of just flowing into each other. This one's kind of a little difficult to reach the base. I don't even know if you can. And lastly, there's High Falls. This is obviously the tallest one, and I recognize it from a movie we'll talk about in a second. There's also another waterfall called Bridal Falls, which I skipped. It's actually probably pretty cool, but I was getting kind of waterfall fatigue, and much like getting tumbled out in Thailand, I was waterfalled out. There's several other waterfalls in the park, but they're just not really worth mentioning, I guess. Showing, possibly, but... So that was Chimney Rock and Dupont State Forest, both of which I believe were shooting locations for the movie Last of the Mohicans, which is one of my favorite movies. It's set during the French-Indian War in the 1700s, before the American Revolution. And if anything, it has an awesome soundtrack, acting, story, but the scenery is fantastic too, and I always wanted to see that in real life. And I should say that I think the movie was filmed in the summertime, and I just went in winter. So at least for Chimney Rock, the upper approaches to the mountain are closed off because of ice. So I'm assuming that's where the end part of The Last of the Mohicans was shot. But it was still pretty cool to see the rest of it, and I definitely saw some other waterfall parts that were in Dupont State Forest. Although I think in the movie the water flow was a little less. Yep, totally right about that. Well, I hope you liked Chimney Rock and Dupont State Forest. Up next, we're going to head to South Carolina.